back. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.
This is Boomer Life on CL 650. I'm Joanne Sutton. Thanks for being with us today. We're having the conversation today with the Alzheimer's Society of British Columbia about how to finally make that step towards putting a loved one in residential care when they have Alzheimer's or a form of dementia. When you don't have the skills or experience to look after them yourselves and their needs become greater than what you can actually handle or provide. It's a difficult time and transition filled with a lot of questions, possibly doubt, possibly guilt, but it doesn't have to be if you're educated and surround yourself with the right support. And we can help because today in the studio we have with us Maria Howard, CEO of the Alzheimer's Society of British Columbia. We also have Jerry Hinton with us today, who's just shared with us both her professional expertise and her first-hand experience in providing help for her husband who had Alzheimer's. And now we welcome our next guest and our residential care expert. We say hello to Jane Devji. So Jane, thanks for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Jane, wonderful of you to share your stories with us today. Jane is from Delta View, and Delta View is a special care rehabilitation facility catering to the needs of people living with Alzheimer's or dementia. Jane has a background as an RN and a lot of experience with both pediatrics and long-term care. Now, you don't just work and run Delta View. The Devji family actually bought this with a specific goal in mind, did they not?
That's right. I came to Canada in 1975. In October of 75, I found a job in a North Shore private hospital. It was a 26-bed facility, and I was pediatric nurse, and here I was in a place where I didn't want to be, but I was there. And first few days, it was hard for me to settle down and to take what I was seeing. And one resident inspired me. She was restrained 24/7 in bed, and she would be getting Haldol medication at that time. And I didn't know what Haldol was at that time because I never gave it to pediatrics. And the way she was restrained, I'd never seen restraints before in Africa or in UK. So this was my first experience. And that just inspired me to find a solution for this situation. And I asked people, and I did some research, and I did a literature research, looked for people, found people who can tell me something about it. Many people just said, nobody knows what to do with them. They're just coming into other people's, in their space, and they trouble them. So I took.
You just knew there had to be a better way.
There should be a better way. And so this is what this lady inspired me. I worked there for 6 months. And then I heard on the TV, on the radio, that there was a Delta private hospital and Richmond private hospital were for sale in 1975. So I thought, okay, I'm doing this here, but my hands are tied. I can't do what I want to do. So I decided to purchase the facility. I didn't have enough money, so a friend of mine, I talked to her. She's a nurse as well. She was also from Kenya. So we decided together that we'll purchase the facility, and that I now had the know-how for working for 6 months in a long-term care facility, that I would be able to guide us ourselves. We'd never been in business, but I came from a family of business. My parents always had businesses. So I knew about business, accounting, and all that kind of stuff. Anyhow, we ventured into Delta Private Hospital, and we had to rename it because we couldn't use the name Delta. So we named it Ladno Private Hospital. And that's how, this is the person who inspired me. And she's still there. I can see her. She's in bed number 3.
Oh, isn't that wonderful? It's a beautiful story. And that's 20 years ago that you purchased the hospital?
No, 76.
Oh, in 76.
40 years back.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. So today's main topic of conversation is about the residential care, and that's why we've brought you in here, so you can share a little bit more with us about making that transition for families and helping to make it easier, because it's not an easy transition. So I'm curious also as well if you have a personal connection with dementia other than this woman. Is there anything in your family that
nothing.
No? So it was this woman that was your true inspiration. So tell us a little bit more about Delta View and the philosophy of care that you offer there.
Our philosophy of care is hugs, not drugs. And there is a person behind there. This is not dementia. This is not Alzheimer's. They are not a disease. They are human beings, and they have their needs, and that is what we need to meet. So that's just simple. Hugs, not drugs. And whatever we do, we need to think about the person and the person behind what we are seeing. He's not a bad number. He's not a disease. He or she is a person, and personhood was very important to us. And that's what it's simple. It doesn't sound like a big philosophy, but it's a very powerful philosophy.
And tell us a little bit about how you help families make this transition. And because I know traditionally, and we've talked about it several times in this show already, is when a family finally comes to you, they're in crisis mode. They've let things go too far.
That's right. They are in crisis mode, and they are right now. The system doesn't work well because in the past, the long-term care program came into being in 1978. Before 1978, people had to pay privately or through social services. They were being admitted to the facility. From 1978 to almost like just 5 years back, they came up with first available bed. And this is the worst idea that you can think of, because the people are not prepared. They want to go to their choice home, but they don't get a bed there, and they get somewhere else, and they end up in a place where they don't know anything about that place. And also the facility doesn't have any information except what they get the day before. So we now know we get a paper to review, and we decide, okay, this is the care, this is what's going to happen. We contact the family. Sometimes family would say, no, I can't make a decision, I don't want to come. So then we have to phone another family to contact, and they may decide that they would like to come to the facility.
So it's a difficult process.
It's a very difficult process. In the past, for all those years, like for almost 20 years, we used to get the information before. We knew who was on our wait list. We could phone them on a Friday. We could phone them anytime and say, come in, have a lunch, just know the place. That doesn't happen anymore. It's now you decide within 24 hours or 48 hours you come up in a bed, and then it may not be even an appropriate bed within our own facility, because sometimes our bed has come up we have got small neighborhoods. We've got 8 neighborhoods in Delta View, and each has their own specialty. Like some are for chronic disease management, some are for dementia. We got 2 homes for dementia residents, but then the third ones and the fourth ones become a mixed units. And again, history repeats itself, because in 1976 at Ladner Private Hospital, we had residents with dementia as well as residents with chronic disease, and they were physically unable but mentally alert. And you are mixing 2 kinds of clients, and they're both in pain, because the residents with the physical disabilities were afraid of the people with dementia, and the dementia residents, when they came near the people, those people said, go away, and yelling and screaming.
Lots of fear and anxiety, and it's not a healthy mix.
No, it wasn't.
What can we do to change that system?
So that's what made me think 28 years back is to design Delta View Rehabilitation Center, which was purpose-built for people with dementia. And and building really worked well. I went to Cleveland, Ohio, and I saw a facility in Cleveland, which they had a 24-bed home, and they had 12 on each side, so neighborhood of 12. And the dining room and the bathing and everything was in the center, and there was a walking, circular path inside as well as outside. And I thought, okay, I can do the same thing. But we know here in Canada, you don't have as much funding, and you can't charge anything more and all this. So I thought, okay, I need to be in a box. So I designed a facility with 40 beds. So I did the same thing, 40 beds, 2 facilities side by side. And in the center, we had a day program and 2 acres of garden at the back. So residents can go out and circulate and all this. And it was specifically designed for dementia residents. And it was a very, very successful program. Unfortunately, I made a decision to help Riverview clients. So when Riverview was being downsized, I said, okay, we can move some of these dementia residents into our new facility, which is Delta View Life Enrichment Center, with the small neighborhoods. And so we moved some of the residents from the special care unit into the into the neighborhoods in Dorothy Meadows and Heather Point and in those areas. This new building is really not designed for dementia residents. There's too much glass, which sometimes the people don't like to see their reflection, and it's really a problem. There is it's congested. So I know small, we say that we should have small facilities, but the small neighborhood doesn't have a circular path inside. And so we really need to look at it. I would say that 25 years of running Delta Rehabilitation Center, it was the most successful program for special care for dementia residents. We would have residents coming, people have carried them because they were zonked out with medication and they were restrained and all this, and we got their medication off. We got them to move around and all this.
Jerry, you're agreeing with a lot of this, aren't you?
I am agreeing. I really think that that one of the approaches that we've seen and we have research to talk about is the purpose-built buildings for dementia residents at each level, because in Victoria, for example, there are 2 purpose-built houses, and the moderate dementia, the people that are walking and able to interact and be a family, do very, very well there, and they do well for longer periods of time. So I agree with you totally, and I think it's a wonderful model that you're talking about and developing.
So that would be the future of residential care, definitely, is purpose-built.
It's purpose-built, and again, as Jerry says, different level, then you are in a different, different neighborhood. So you don't age in place, but you still is the similar surroundings.
So your advice to families in this situation that are sitting at home with a loved one who's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's or dementia, and they're not sure what to do. And so, of course, a first call would be, if they have to deal with their doctors, a call to the Alzheimer's Society, of course. But just so they don't end up on your doorstep in crisis mode.
That's right. They should join the support group, because Alzheimer's Society provides a lot of support group. We also have a support group where the past families whose loved ones were at Delta View, they are running the program, and they support the families, and they invite their loved ones to come in. So it's a drop-in once a month, every Saturday afternoon. Once a month on a Saturday they do it, and they get together and they talk about their experiences. And the person, Liz Nightingale, she's the one who runs that program. Her mother passed away long time back, but she's been always at Delta View, and she's really supported Delta View, as well as she believes that the families need support and they need to come to an informal support situations and all this. And because if they drop in, they at least know the building, they know the place, they can start learning about it, they also observe. Because you need to really see, because their facility can be really beautiful. But if the staff who are working there and they don't have a heart, it's no use. You need the people who are working with a heart and who are caring for the residents, who are really committed, and they know that they treat the people with love and respect. Because if you don't give love and respect and a dignity of the person, you cannot give care. Because I can give care, physical, like acute care, I can do this, and that, and whatever. But when I want to give care, I need to give it from the heart. And I need to understand what that person needs.
Those are the words of Jane Devji, special guest today. Thank you very much for everything you do, and thanks for sharing your stories.
Thank you.
We've all heard how passionate you are about the care for those with Alzheimer's and dementia, and I also know that your family is very dedicated and involved with the Alzheimer's Society of British Columbia, being advocates and fundraisers, and good luck on your next journey of attempting Mount Kilimanjaro for the 4th time.
Thank you.
Is that this August?
That's this August.
Excellent.
And I'm going to take the last 2 flags from Alzheimer's Society and go and put them there.
Up at the top.
And take a picture.
We look forward to seeing that picture. That's Jane Devji, our residential care expert from Delta View, the Rehabilitation Center at Highway 99 and Highway number 10. We also want to say special thank you to Jerry Hinton for coming in today and sharing her stories about her husband, Peter, and Maria Howard, CEO of the Alzheimer's Society of British Columbia. How can you offer help in your community? Our next guest has those answers for you. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.
Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.